Coach Blaze, Josh, we'll start with opening thoughts on the game from each of you and then take questions.
Yeah, I mean, just disappointed with the way that we finished. Right, we built a lot of momentum, and I think I have not been in a lot of games in my career where the stats are so lopsided in certain places, and I just think we had plenty of opportunities, and we just didn't find a way to execute for consistently for the game. I think the turnovers were tough. I give them full credit. They came out and in a situation where it's tough to play, for something, right? Trying to find something to play for, and they did a great job of sticking with us and making plays when they had to down the stretch. So my hat is off to Archers for a great effort against us, and we've got to look in the mirror a little bit and be ready to go for playoffs.
Yeah, I think our immaturity showed a little bit. I think we could have used the team. It didn't have to be individual efforts. We could have used our team to put a little pressure on them, but at the end of the day, they're the two-time defending champs for a reason. They're well coached. They got talent all over the field, and this is a fun group to be around. And we talked about all year not riding the highs too high and not riding the lows. And obviously, you hate to walk away with a loss, but we need to look ahead at this point. That's the beauty of the position that we're in. We get to look ahead now and prepare to come out and play our best game in 2 weeks against the Redwoods, and then enjoy our time together.
Yeah, just credit to them. I mean, they made it difficult all game, especially on the offensive end at times. But no, we just got to take a step back and trust the system that the coaches kind of put in place, because when we kind of go through lulls in the game, that's kind of when we go on our own and do just unconventional things. So I think it's just a good time, another 2 weeks or a week and a half to regroup and just get back on track and get ready to make a playoff push.
Coming into the game, I know it ended up being kind of, low stakes and that the Archers had been eliminated already. You guys were firmly in the playoffs. Does that change anything at all within your mindset, your approach to the game, knowing kind of, what's ahead of you is a playoff game? The Archers are not making the playoffs, and in that sense, it's not as, high impact of a game as a regular season game might be?
As an athlete, we wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't ingrained on us. I think every guy in here, whether you're playing rock paper scissors shoot or playing your nephew and Madden, you want to win everything. And we rolled out our lineup that we've rolled out to win 3 out of our last 4, now 3 out of our last 5. And at the end of the day, I think the mental aspect of it, of going into those lulls and maybe getting out of our systems, was a lack of focus, and that's on us leaders to stay locked in. And moving forward, everything's on the line, and that's what matters, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this was a game that we kind of talked about in midweek, that this is a game that we build momentum in the playoffs, and it wasn't a game to take lightly just because we were already in the playoffs. So it was, we talked about it this week. It doesn't matter if we're in or not. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing for them to come out and just play, as well as they did, and to be able to execute for 4 quarters and not allow that to get to them was some mental toughness and just having a desire to win, right? Certainly for me, I'm super competitive. There's never going to be a game that doesn't matter, right? That if we're keeping score, we want to win, and that's the conversation we had this week and trying to build some momentum and at the end of the day, we're fortunate that we get to move on, but we've got to still, here we are, we're played 10 games. We still have not played a great game, right? I'll take, full credit / responsibility for that. We've got to find a way to do that. We haven't been able to do that in 10 games. I haven't found a way to do that in 10 games. There's always been a lapse or some inconsistent play or whatever, and so that's on me. I'll figure it out, and we're making progress as a group, and we did some things really well tonight. We were fantastic preventing transition, but then we created it, right? We created so much transition that we were able to stop, but we shot ourselves in the foot a lot. I think we talk a lot about allowing or forcing teams to beat us as opposed to beating ourselves, and I feel like tonight there were moments where we didn't do ourselves any favors.
Justin has been so good for you guys this season, and also the Archers did not dress a face-off man for this game, so I'm sure you knew coming in we're going to spend a lot of time in the 32-second shot clock. For you, Josh, and for Coach, how do you kind of feel the offense performed in 32-second shot clock in particular, since you had so many opportunities in it tonight?
I'd have to watch the film to break it. That's moving quickly, and we knew what we were getting. We knew what to expect. We experimented with a few different things to try and shorten that up, and all those things were great. I think we won 83% of the possessions. That's one of the stats I'm talking about that you don't see very often. A team come away with a loss when you've got a differential like that. And so they did a good job of I think game planning against our early offense. I don't know, Josh, what did you think? Did you think there were not many goals off of early?
Yeah, there was not really many at all, and I think it's face-off position's an interesting position in this league. It doesn't matter really how many face-offs you win. Like, it comes down to offense, and it doesn't matter if it's 32 or 52. Like, we got to make a move and do it quickly. So.
Yeah, it also presents a huge challenge on the defense end when you're dealing with a 32-second shot clock. Right, Justin wins the face-off. He runs around for 15 seconds. You sub off, a guy's running on. Well, now you have 8 seconds. There's, more of a opportunity for a bad sub on our end and them to push transition. I don't think it's necessarily, about us scoring, off those opportunities. I think it's more, being able to defend, making sure we're subbing clean. You run onto the field with 11 seconds and you're sprinting in to look for the ball, and the ball doesn't get to you. Well, now you're down to 4 seconds. You're running off late, and now we're chasing. So, it was a little bit of that cat and mouse game, and, we haven't seen it all year. And I thought, coaches came up with a great game plan. We practice it, and, I don't know the numbers of scoring off of it or letting in goals, but I know, Justin did a great job not turning the ball over. We were pretty clean with our execution, and, I don't think we'll see that moving forward.
Questions on Zoom? Kyle?
Yeah, for Coach and Blaze and Josh, if you want to chime in as well. It's not necessarily game related, but you're now officially one full regular season into your PLL coaching career. What's this journey been like for you? I know when we talked at your introductory press conference, one of the check marks was make the playoffs, wanting to qualify as a top 4 team for that champ series down the line. You're in the playoffs, year one. What have you learned, as a coach from your players and from your assistants as this journey's gone on this summer that, you take away with you and has improved your coaching style?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's been a great journey. It's been fun. I think I've learned something every week. I've learned something from my assistant coaches, but I also think I've learned a lot from the players and our leadership group. I think one thing for me, which was new, was spending so much time communicating with men, right? When you're dealing with guys in this league, you're coaching men, and I think there's an adjustment to your style, learning to collaborate, learning to listen, and share ideas. And I think that's been something that that's probably been where the most growth has happened for me as a person, is learning to listen, learning to collaborate, and making these guys feel like they're heard. I think it's one thing to say that you want to be a player's coach. It's another thing to learn how to do that. And so I think that has been the biggest challenge, but I think also there's been a lot of growth there, and I think Blaze has been great in supporting me in that, and as I learned to do that, and we've had a lot of conversations about what that looks like, and I'm grateful for that. I didn't expect to be perfect in year one. I'm proud of the effort that these guys put forward. I think we've made a lot of improvement, and moving forward, we've got a great locker room and a great group of guys, and I'm excited about the season. I'm excited about the playoffs.
Hayden?
Yeah, Coach, it's obviously hard to come back from a hamstring injury, but Knobber looks great. How nice is it to have him playing at this level ahead of the playoffs?
Yeah, it's been great, and I think obviously we've had a pretty decent number of injuries with guys that were coming out of training camp, guys getting hurt in training camp, getting hurt in the first couple games. So it is really nice to get back to almost full strength, and knowing that Nabi's hamstring is going to hold up and he's going to be able to play makes us a more dangerous team.
Dre?
Coach, this one's for you. So a few weeks ago, it was said that Justin was the best midseason pickup in the PLL in 2005 and 2025. And I just want to know, what your thoughts are on that. Do you agree with that? And also, how is the chaos worked to get the most out of his efforts on the field?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would never want to discredit, anybody else, but there's certainly no one better, right? I mean, there are some good pickups this, season, I think, by a lot of teams, but Justin coming out and doing what he's done for us, especially knowing that he had a previous stint in the league where he was not as successful. And I think he took that personally. I think he worked, extremely hard and waited for his opportunity. And obviously we're thrilled, right? He has really tilted the table for us and given us an opportunity to have more possessions. So, he has been as important to us as any other guy has been to any other team.
Zach?
Hey, Coach, Owen makes a lot of plays with one hand on the bottom of his stick. Just how much confidence do you have in him to make those one-handed passes or shots?
I don't think about it. I mean, some guys play that way, some guys don't. We don't think about it. We don't talk about it. We let Owen do what Owen's going to do, and he's at some point with your offensive guys, you got to have trust in them. You got to believe in them. You got to give them confidence. We're doing that, and I think Owen can throw the ball however Owen wants to, and we're happy with the results.
Hayden?
Yeah, Blaze, for you, it probably doesn't mean too much, but you moved to 6th all-time in career saves. What kind of perspective does that give you on your career up to this point?
Means I'm old, and the older you get, the wider your lens is in realizing how lucky you are to, for your body to hold up, the support system that I have in my life. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes into, getting to be in a locker room with a group of men, that I've come to love, and playing a game that I've loved since I've been 4 years old, and, leading up to get an opportunity to play 48 minutes and hear the whistle blow and compete. It's my parents, it's my wife, it's my friends. A lot of people sacrifice a lot, and just super grateful. And this year has been, an amazing year for me. A lot of new faces in our locker room. I kind of look back in the rearview mirror at the beginning of the year and remember being the 21, 22, 23-year-old, kid on this journey. And, now I'm one of the older guys, and just been super refreshing, super fun. And, I still got a lot of gas left in my tank, and, just proud to be a member of the Chaos and continue to play the game I love.
Kyle?
Yeah, Blaze, kind of to piggyback off of that, as you guys gear up for the playoffs now, the back end of this team has playoff experience, has championship winning experience. How valuable are guys like yourself, Troy, Jared, and Jack, who have been there, been through what it takes to, go on a deep playoff run, going into this bye week and going into the quarterfinals, for the young guys on this team to kind of teach them the tricks of the trade, what they need to be prepared for as the playoffs are on the horizon?
Yeah, I think guys 1 through 25 on our roster, our coaching staff, our training staff, our liaison, all play an equal role. And, it definitely helps to have a couple veterans that have been there and done that. But, one thing I noticed about this team all year is, our young guys are mature in a sense that maybe they're not as vocal, but, the way they play, I think we've shown, that no lead against us is big enough. We've played down, we kind of played up. We've been on win streaks. We've been on losing streaks. We got our asses kicked, and we kicked ass. So, I think we're pretty battle tested. And I think our strongest weapon is, the best part of the week for us is when we get to be together and, put on the Chaos uniform and, go out there and perform for one another.
Depending on results tomorrow, a top 4 finish is possible for you guys, which would qualify you for the championship series. In the past, teams have said that qualification really means a lot to them, even with the playoffs still ahead. What would it mean to you guys to have a chance to finish top 4 and qualify for that event?
Yeah, I'm pissed that we didn't do it ourselves. I never want to be sitting around hoping for things to happen. That's just not the way that I am, right? When you have the opportunity to control something, and I value that. I think it's important for us. Kind of thinking about what Blaze talks about with this team, it's another week of spending time together. It's another week of playing together. It's a bunch more practices. I think all the teams that have had the opportunity to do that have gotten better. That was something that I was really wanting for this group. I think it's an important thing. I think it's a huge benefit to have that week together. And yeah, I'm upset that we didn't do it ourselves. If we sneak in the back door, I guess that would be great. But you know, it's just hard to wait around for when you had an opportunity to make it happen yourself.
And lastly, Josh, just the opportunity to play for your home state, represent Carolina. Obviously not the result you wanted tonight, but what has that meant to you this season and heading into playoffs?
Yeah, it's been great. It's kind of a full circle. I mean, started off when I was little, and especially when we played in Charlotte. So like I grew up watching the Charlotte Hounds play there when I was little. So no, it's been great to play for kind of the Carolina Chaos and play for my home state. But well, no, we're looking forward for the playoffs in 2 weeks. So
Thank you all. Appreciate the time.
All right, thank you.
Coach Ryan, congrats on the win. We'll start with opening thoughts on the game from each of you and then take questions.
Want me to start? It was good to get a win, especially at the end of the season. I mean, it wasn't the way that we wanted to end the season, but I was like proud of the way that we played tonight. You know, odd circumstances, but you know, to get to compete with all of these guys is like the best thing ever, and I'm glad that we went out on a high note like that.
Yeah, I mean, I tip my cap to the Chaos. They've done a really good job all year. You know, they're a playoff team. You know, they create matchup problems, and you know, it's a solid win for us any way you slice it, really. You know, the unfortunate thing for us is there wasn't anything on the line. So, you know, disappointing overall just because, you know, we feel like we've got more in the tank and, you know, needed a couple bounces to go our way, but it's, you know, it's hard to relinquish and be done with the season, to be candid. It feels like we're just kind of getting going and you know, the finality of this thing is going to set in, and it's just, you know, it's a hell of a group of guys that we have in our locker room. We've achieved a lot together. You know, so to you know, have to sort of close up shop this season, you know, in early August is disappointing. But, you know, good win tonight, and, you know, that's it.
Coach Mac O'Keefe was your leading scorer tonight, including his first two-pointer of the year. What do you think went well for him tonight that maybe hadn't earlier in the season?
Yeah, it feels like he's a little healthier than he's been. He's playing with a little more confidence, has a little more range. I mean, Mac can just shoot unlike anybody, really. So I thought he got his hands free, you know, and put it by Blaze, who normally, you know, just because of Fieldsy and you know, Mac having played with him, I think, you know, Blaze typically has done well against those guys, but it was nice to see Mac, you know, just finish the year strong and put it at the back of the net a couple times.
Coach, you mentioned Mac being a little more healthy. I don't think you guys played 10 games this year. I don't think you had your typical 19-man for a single one of them because of injuries throughout the year. How big of a role, I know it's not, you would tell me it's not an excuse, but how big of a role did injuries play in the way this season went for the Archers?
I don't attribute a lot to injuries. I mean, and I appreciate the question. I mean, losing Tom is losing not only production but leadership and everything that he brings. I didn't think we played particularly well overall. Offensively, we just struggled getting some momentum. The mainstay, Dauber was great all year. He was spectacular, and tonight again. And defensively, we were generally pretty solid, and the injuries happened on the offensive end, and we just never got a great rhythm. Some of our guys didn't have their best years, and at the end of the day, there's so much parity in this league. Injuries didn't help, but at the end of the day, we're not going to blame. We gotta find ways. We're talented. We should find ways to put the ball in the back of the net.
Questions on Zoom? Kyle?
Yeah, for Ryan and Coach, like you guys have both mentioned, not the season that you guys kind of foresaw this year. What does a year and a season going like this kind of teach you as a coach and player, respectively, and kind of just approaching, things not necessarily taking the bounces you expect them to, but what do you both take away from a down season like this in the, overall perspective, what you guys expect from this organization?
Yeah. I guess the short answer is a lot. The season goes by so quick. We were talking about this, the other day. One or two, losses here and there start to add up in a 10-game regular season, and I think in years past we've sort of had that, but then been able to course correct in the right direction, and we never really got there. What I think I've learned, and I've been on teams that have been really successful. I've been on teams that haven't had great years. I just think I've been most proud by the way we stuck together throughout off the field. I think it can be easy for some teams to kind of break apart when things aren't going well on the field, and I think it's a testament to the culture that we've built that off the field it's stronger than ever, and everyone is on board trying to figure out new ways for us to be successful. And I think personally, as a player, I guess it's we all got to evolve our game, a little bit better, and we've had some good luck and some good fortune winning it 2 years in a row. But in some ways, maybe we need to add on some new layers to our game and be better next year. So I think that's what I'll take into the off season.
I'll add, as crazy as it seems, I thought we came into this weekend with some confidence and thinking that the odds were against us, certainly, but we felt like we had a good game plan. We felt like, we certainly needed the first domino to fall, and that was beyond our control. So I think there was never really a question of belief. As Ryan said, we just didn't get the momentum and the plays that we needed. And I am proud of our locker room. I'm proud of our culture. We have to take a hard look at what this thing looks like going forward, without a doubt. We believe in our guys for sure, but we have to add layers. You saw Sam King this year. You saw Brendan Lavelle. We did really well with two, very good draft picks and their contributions. Unfortunately, the reality is we're going to have a high draft pick, which is not a position where my dad said that to me last night. It hadn't entered my mind. We were so focused on winning games and trying to get in. But, so we have to look at this thing and make sure that we're doing everything we can to put ourselves in a position to have a competitive roster and, evolve. And you see how teams, added layers and did a nice job. Redwoods did a really good job in our conference this year, clearly. Chaos did a really good job. When expectations were lower for those two teams. So there's lessons all around that we've got to learn. We can't assume anything, and it's an exciting process. Just if I go down to that locker room right now, this team still wants to play. Wants to start next year now if we can. But unfortunately, this is going to sting for a while, but also motivate us in the off season to find ways to get better.
Trey?
Coach Ryan, this is for you. What do you guys think of Brett Dobson's performance, not just tonight, but of this season overall, and his resiliency that he displayed through both the wins and the losses?
Yeah, he's the real deal, man. Like, you know, Dauber just is he doesn't like when I use the term unflappable, but he goes with the flow of the game. And even tonight, like, he was the difference. Make no mistake about it. You know, he was the difference in the win, just making, you know, critical doorstep saves. And he's evolved as a leader. You know, he's just somebody that remains positive. You know, he's a vet at this point. You know, so his play, you know, I think speaks for itself, but his leadership on that end of the field and how he brings that team or that, you know, defensive unit together and our team together, you know, it's a privilege to be around him because he's a pro and he's a really good goalie and a really good leader, and we wouldn't trade him for anybody.
Zach?
Yeah, Ryan, there are a handful of other young guys this year, Lavelle and Sam King. Just how have you seen, along with Dauber, those young guys step up as leaders and players this season?
Yeah, it's been fun. I think watching, you know, Dobson's maturity and like evolution over these past 3 years. On the field, he's the most consistent player, I think, out there. And we thought critically about this of, you know, like these great goalies steal some games for you down the line, and he's stolen his fair share. And I at least feel like on the offensive end, you know, when he's in net, we've got a shot against anyone. You know, we're going into the game tonight just being like, just give us a shot. You know, if the Redwoods win by one, or if the Redwoods lose by one, or not, you know, we think that he could get hot and go 98% or even maybe 100%, and we'd be great. But I think he's taken a next step as a leader in the locker room, just being positive, but critical in the right ways. And I think that you need that honesty, and he's just done a great job. And then, like, you know, on the offensive end, I think Dyson has taken some major steps as a leader and just someone, again, who's extremely consistent. I think that playing in this league is about that. And he just does a great job of being insanely efficient, you know, making big-time plays, and just doing what's best for the team. So it's been a lot of fun to watch. And then the whole ground punchers unit, I feel like they're basically vets at this point, but it's been, you know, this is their third year for Piper, Bo, Woody, Connor Marr. I mean, that's you know, a big part of this core that we have here. It's the same thing. Like, you know, when I have to go against them in practice, it sucks. And I feel for some of the middies who have to go against them. You just, with our defense and with those young guys, and I just feel like we always have a shot. So it's been a lot of fun to just watch them step up, continue to get super mature. I love Connor Marr scoring it behind the back tonight because he's always been a fantastic defenseman. But that's a one, you know, big positive for me. It made me smile.
Game winner.
Yeah, it's game winner too.
Chris?
Coach, you guys brought in Pat Resch pretty recently, just a few days ago. Just wanted to get your thoughts on what it meant getting him into an Archer's uniform and getting to play this game with him there.
Yeah, I mean, that was as big a hug as I've given anybody, really, you know, aside from this guy and probably Tom. You know, I've known Patrick his whole life. You know, when we made the decision to not bring a face-off guy, it was a no-brainer that, you know, with his availability, that this was a you know, an addition that was going to make us better. So just seeing him in the locker room, seeing him play, seeing him with his young son Warren at the end of the game, like it feels right. And, you know, Tony, Coach Resch, is as well respected as anybody I've ever been around, and you know, to see that relationship and to see them, you know, on the same field together. You know, Patrick's had a wonderful career. You know, kind of crazy that he finishes it against, maybe not his career, but, you know, finishes the season against the Chaos, you know, is just so ironic. But, you know, he's another dude. He's a pro's pro, and I was proud to have him on the sideline wearing Archer's orange tonight for sure.
Chris, did you have another?
Yeah, so it seems to be that we often hear that kind of maintaining this level of excellence that you guys have demonstrated kind of requires a sort of focus on the present. Have you both had the ability to kind of take a step back and just kind of appreciate, you know, what it's meant to be back-to-back champions, or you think that's something that still might come later down the road?
Yeah, I mean, personally, we went through some wars together in college, and I feel like we've been through the ringer a little bit, so there's absolutely perspective. And even in the early parts of the PLL, we didn't get to the championship or win it, and, we thought that we had the group to do it. So it's incredibly special to look back and be like, okay, well, we won 2 in a row, and obviously it would be great to win 3, and it makes you hungry for the next one. But I'm incredibly proud of what we've built, and I don't think we're going anywhere, and I don't think we're necessarily done yet. So yeah, tonight is like a nice win, but I would like to figure out next year and think through how we can make some changes and some fixes and get back to where we want to be.
Thank you both. Appreciate the time.
Yep.